Hi there, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Gardener, and thank you for listening. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's July 31st. Today we remember the beloved English writer who was punished for treason but adored with flowers. We'll also learn about the female botanical illustrator who is known as the Audubon of botany. And we celebrate the Dean of American Architecture, and we also salute the poet of the blackbirds. And we'll honor the establishment of the horticulture program at the Smithsonian Gardens. In Unearthed Words, we say goodbye to July, and we hear some poems about the fleeting summer. And we grow that garden library with a book that celebrates 25 years of the Garden Conservancy through over 50 gardens from across the country. And then we'll wrap things up with a little story about the alligator pear. But first, let's catch up on some greetings from gardeners from around the world and today's curated news. Well, today I got up and checked my email, and what did I see but a very fun video from Samantha in Wisconsin, and she did a wonderful unboxing of a birthday present from her sister in Colorado, and the box was filled with a beautiful collection of perennials from a nursery that's nearby her sister's place. How cool is that? I love plant unboxings. I can just live vicariously through the people receiving the plants. And not only is it so fun to see their reaction, but it's so great to see the plants and how wonderfully they transport nowadays. So if you have a special event coming up, don't be afraid to send plants in the mail. They do just fine. In fact, I've even had great success with plants on Amazon. So what do you have to lose? Give it a try. If there's something that you're looking for and you can't source it locally, I wouldn't hesitate to jump online and see if I can find it that way. Anyway, this was a fun surprise. And as I said, I just love these kinds of videos. That's just too fun. And I say, best birthday present ever. Such a great idea. All right, that's it for today's Gardener Greetings. Now, if you'd like to participate in the Gardener Greetings segment, it's very easy. Just go ahead and send me any of your pictures or stories, birthday wishes, and so forth to my email at jennifer@thedailygardener.org. That's jennifer@thedailygardener.org. And to listen to the show while you're at home, just ask Alexa or Google to play the Daily Gardener podcast. It's just that easy. Here's today's curated news. Today's curated article is another great post written by Claire Colson, this time for the Financial Times, and the piece is called How to Grow a Mood-Boosting Garden. Here's an excerpt. Isabel Bannerman, who, along with her husband Julian, has created atmospheric gardens for the Prince of Wales and other royalty, is a passionate flag bearer for good-for-you gardening. And Isabel said this: plants are a really good steadier. You can't let them die. You have to keep them going. It's like having children, but less demanding. And she also notes that gardens are forgiving. She reminds us that there's always another year, another season to look forward to and to try again. She says, there's so much beauty, such sensory pleasure, all of which feeds the soul and psyche. Now, for Bannerman, scent is the key to creating gardens that transport and revive. It's a subject that she explores in her book called Scent Magic: Notes from a Gardener. In the book, Isabel outlines how natural chemical uppers are present in the fragrance of lilacs and jasmine. And then there are calming chemicals that you'll find in plants like lavender. And Isabel likes to use all of these powerful scents and fragrances to envelop a home. Now, later in the article, Claire interviews garden designer Joe Thompson, who reminds us that it's very important to have an enclosed garden. Joe says, having a garden is a magical and inspiring place. You're in nature and there's movement and life, but you feel safe. And then finally, another expert that Claire includes in her piece is Florence Williams, who's the author of the book The Nature Fix. And Florence says that we are hardwired to be in the natural world. She writes, our brains become relaxed because these are things that we are designed to look at, hear, and smell. And the frontal lobe, the part of our brain that's hyper engaged in modern life, deactivates a little bit when we're outside. And then the alpha waves in our brain, which indicate a calm but alert state, grow much stronger when we spend time outside. And recently, Korean researchers have found that just pictures of landscapes stimulate parts of our brain that are associated with empathy and altruism. Anyway, this piece by Claire Colson was really one of my favorite finds for the week. It's very well done, and there's a whole lot more that you can read. So if you'd like to read the rest of Claire's article, just search for the word mood in the Facebook group for the show, and this post will pop up. All right, that's it for today's gardening news. Now, if you'd like to check out any of my curated news articles or original blog posts for yourself, you're in luck, because I share all of it in the listener community in the free Facebook group for the show, the Daily Gardener Community. So there's no need to take notes or search for links. It's all right there for you. So the next time you're on Facebook, just search for the Daily Gardener Community and request to join. I'd love to meet you in the group. Here's today's brevities. It was on this day in 1703 that the English journalist and author Daniel Defoe was made to stand in the pillory in front of the Temple Bar. Daniel is remembered for his popular novel Robinson Crusoe, which at the time claimed to be second to the Bible in its number of published translations. After Daniel was convicted of treason for one of his political writings, he was punished with time at the pillory. The pillory was essentially a stockade. The hands and head were stuck between two giant beams of wood, and then the person would stand in the pillory for days. It was a horrible punishment, and it was usually reserved for hideous crimes. Well, while Daniel was in the pillory, the crowds did their best to show their support. They sang songs, they shouted encouragement, and they threw flowers at his feet instead of mud. And in 1830, a biography of Daniel said that his stocks were adorned with garlands and that drinks were provided to celebrate Daniel's release. And there's an image of Daniel standing with his head and hands in the stocks, surrounded by an adoring audience that was memorialized in an 1862 painting by Ira Crow. I shared it in the Facebook group for the show. Gardeners will especially notice the flowers strewn on the ground in the foreground of the painting. And on the right side, there are two women struggling to hold on to a large basket of flowers as they're being pushed away by the redcoats. And behind the women, a man has managed to attach a small bouquet to the tip of a spear, and he's attempting to give the bouquet to Daniel, who's standing calmly in the pillory. And today is the birthday of the botanical illustrator Mary Vaux Walcott, who was born on this day in Philadelphia in 1860. Gardeners and historians recognize Mary for her meticulously accurate watercolors of plants and flowers. And for this reason, Mary is often regarded as the Audubon of botany. And there was one summer in Mary's life that really sparked her career as an illustrator. She was challenged to paint a rare blooming arnica. And although her effort was only a modest success, it encouraged her to pursue her art. And in that pursuit, she met Charles Doolittle Walcott. They were both doing field work in the Canadian Rockies, and they found that they were equally yoked. They married the following year. At the same time, Charles was the secretary to the Smithsonian, and that's how Mary was tapped to develop the Smithsonian process printing technique. Mary created hundreds of illustrations of the native plants of North America, and her 5-volume set entitled North American Wildflowers showcases the stunning beauty of common wildflowers, many of which are at peak bloom right now. In addition to her work as a botanist, Mary was a successful glacial geologist and photographer. She was the first woman to summit a peak over 10,000 feet in Canada when she tackled Mount Stephen. And today, Mary even has a mountain named after her in Jasper. Perhaps you've heard of it, Mount Mary Vaux. And today is the anniversary of the death of Richard Morris Hunt, who was an American architect during the Gilded Age. He died on this day in 1895. Gardeners know Richard for his collaborations with Frederick Law Olmsted. They worked together on the Vanderbilt Mausoleum and the Chicago World's Fair. Their ultimate collaboration, however, occurred in Asheville, North Carolina, where they worked together to design the gardens, the house, and the manor village for the Biltmore estate. Richard is often regarded as the Dean of American Architecture, and he was the first American to train at the prestigious École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. Now, if you get a chance to walk around Central Park, you'll discover a memorial to honor Richard Morris Hunt, and it's located on the eastern perimeter of the park. And it was created by the same man who created the Lincoln Memorial, Daniel Chester French. When he was alive, Richard Morris Hunt wanted to elevate the public's taste in design and the arts. But he was also flexible enough to meet people where they were. Modern-day designers will recognize the truth of Richard's advice to other landscape architects. He said, "The first thing you've got to remember is that it's your client's money you're spending. Your goal is to achieve the best results by following their wishes. If they want you to build a house upside down, standing on a chimney, it's up to you to do it." And today is the anniversary of the death of the Irish war poet and soldier Francis Ledwidge, who died on this day in 1917. Francis grew up in the Irish countryside, and when he became a writer, he established himself as the poet of blackbirds. Francis was killed in action during World War I at the Battle of Passchendaele. And today, in honor of Francis Ledwidge, I've picked 2 of his poems to share with you. The first one's called A Rainy Day in April. When the clouds shake their hyssops, and the rain, like holy water, falls upon the plain, 'tis sweet to gaze upon the springing grain, and see your harvest born. And sweet the little breeze of melody, the blackbird puffs upon the budding tree, while the wild poppy lights upon the lea, and blazes mid the corn. And this next one is called June. Broom out the floor now, lay the fender by, and plant this bee-sucked bough of woodbine there, and let the window down. The butterfly floats in upon the sunbeam, and the fair tan-faced of June, the nomad gypsy, laughs above her widespread wares, the while she tells the farmer's fortunes in the fields, and quaffs the water from the spider-peopled wells. The hedges are all drowned in green grass seas, and bobbing poppies flare like Elmo's light, while siren-like the pollen-stained bees drone in the clover depths. And up the height the cuckoo's voice is hoarse and broke with joy, and on the lowland crops the crows make raid, nor fear the clappers of the farmer's boy, who sleeps like drunken Noah in the shade. And loop this red rose in that hazel ring that snares your little ear, for June is short, and we must joy in it, and dance and sing, and from her bounty draw her rosy worth. Aye, soon the swallows will be flying south, the wind wheel north to gather in the snow. Even the roses, spilt on youth's red mouth, will soon blow down the road. All roses go. And it was on this day in 1972 that the horticulture program at the Smithsonian Gardens was established by Sidney Dillon Ripley, who served as the secretary of the Smithsonian. An American ornithologist and conservationist, Sidney had been inspired by the area around the Louvre in France as a child. And with the Louvre always in the back of his mind, he hoped to make the Smithsonian a bustling destination with activities to engage crowds of visitors and tourists. And so the Horticultural Services Division was created to provide landscaping in and around the Smithsonian museums. Sidney knew that gardens not only attracted pollinators, but people as well. By 2010, the Smithsonian Horticultural Program was renamed the Smithsonian Gardens. And that change reflected the central role that the gardens play in the visitor experience. In unearthed words, today we say goodbye, July. Until next year, we'll miss you. Today's words are all about the fleeting summer. This first one's from the American essayist and poet Ralph Waldo Emerson. Our fear of death is like our fear that summer will be short. But when we've had our swing of pleasure, our fill of fruit, and our swelter of heat, we say we've had our day. And here's one from Han Shan, from the Chinese Tang Dynasty. You have seen the blossoms among the leaves. Tell me, how long will they stay? Today they tremble before the hand that picks them. Tomorrow they await someone's garden broom. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Outstanding American Gardens by Paige Dickey. This book came out in 2015, and the subtitle is A Celebration, 25 Years of the Garden Conservancy. Paige's gorgeous book celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Garden Conservancy. And the book highlights 8 gardens that were preserved by the Conservancy and 43 gardens that have participated in the Open Days program. The author, Paige Dickey, is a well-known garden writer, and among her many books are Gardens in the Spirit of Place, the award-winning Breaking Ground, Portraits of 10 Garden Designers, and Duck Hill Journal. Paige created Duck Hill, her garden in North Salem, New York, over the past 30 years. This book is 272 pages of inspiring gardens from all around the country, and it's photographed in a variety of seasons from spring to fall. And it's one of my favorite books. In fact, I have all of the books that are written by Paige. They're all fantastic. You can get a copy of Outstanding American Gardens by Paige Dickey and support the show using the Amazon link in today's show notes for around $20. Such a bargain. And finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. Today is National Avocado Day. Avocado is a fruit, and it was initially called an alligator pear by Sir Hans Sloane in 1696. And Guinness has a giant avocado that's been recorded at 5 pounds, 6.5 ounces. That's the size of a small baby. Don't forget that the skin of an avocado can be toxic to cats and dogs, but the flesh of an avocado is higher in potassium than bananas. That's good to know. Now, the next time that the price of avocados gets you down, remember that avocados are harvested by hand, and pickers need to use a 16-foot pole to reach the hanging fruit. And finally, here's a little fun fact about avocados. The conquistadors used the avocado seed to write. It turns out the avocado seed produces a milky liquid, and it changes to the color red when it's exposed to the air. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. Maddie Doyle, Natalie Decker, and Eric Begay. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media. You can follow the show on Instagram, and listeners always have a standing invitation to join the free Facebook group for the show. Just search for Daily Gardener Community the next time you're on Facebook and request to join. All the stories and books that are featured on the show can be found over at thedailygardener.org. thedailygardener.org. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for my free Friday newsletter. Last but not least, you can share your own gardener greetings on the show by emailing me at jennifer@thedailygardener.org. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling, and as always, have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.